All right, everyone, welcome to our February TL Virtual Cafe free webinar. We are back, we are live. I apologize for the confusion here. I know that we usually run our webinars in Blackboard Illuminate, but tonight we are via Google Hangouts on air and we are recording live, and we are actually recording now. So I've tweeted out the link. I'm going to update some things on our wiki. But I'm super excited to be here tonight with Neha and share with you guys about Research 101. So we are both going to be kind of sharing our experiences with leading our students through the research process, starting with some super simple and easy tips that you can take and use with your students. We're also going to be sharing some cool research projects that we've done with our students, and then kind of take it a little deeper. And I'd really like to see this conversation extend onto Twitter. If you use the TL Chat hashtag and share the awesome things that you are doing in your school, in your library with research, I'd really love to see that. And I'm excited to see the things that we can all come together and share tonight. So a little bit about me. My name is Tiffany Whitehead. I'm the librarian at Central Middle School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I have about 1,000 students that I work with. So when we are talking research, we're talking large quantities of students. So I'm excited tonight to share some of our simple tips and tricks that we use, as well as a massive project that we've undertaken this year. All right, so I'm going to hand the mic off.
Hi, my name is Neha Tucker, and I am the school librarian at Ogden International School of Chicago here in Chicago, Illinois. I see about 900 students a week, and today we're going to focus on some of the things we're doing with our fifth graders to get them started in research and doing what we call the exhibition project. Our school has a curriculum under the International Baccalaureate program, and we run the primary years program curriculum at our school. And our students, at the end of their 6-year run from K through 5 in 5th grade, their culminating project is the exhibition project, where they kind of share all the things that they've learned over the years in a project where they have to come up with their own essential questions, their own research. They have to write a reflection. They usually have to do some kind of action piece. And we'll talk more about it as we get started.
All right. And like we said, we really want you guys to share your experiences, the things that you're doing, especially if you have blog posts or links or student work to share. Of course, we always learn best from each other. So I'm excited to share our experiences, but especially excited to learn from yours. So we're first going to kind of dive into just the basics, and especially if you are working with younger students, we know that laying that foundation is super important, and there are some things that we've experienced, things that we've done that we can recommend as far as just helping your students get their feet wet with the research process. And I'm hoping that you guys can see our slides and that they're showing up here for you guys.
So if you can see the slides, we're going to talk about teaching the basics. And in my 5th grade classes, I've realized that using a flipped model has really helped to build knowledge rather than me lecturing or trying some other things. I've noticed that they really enjoy the videos, even if it's just me talking. They still are better at listening than direct instruction. So I usually start every class with a video of what we're going to learn or how to do the assignment itself, and then they go to their computers and they log into their Google accounts, and they use Google Classroom to watch a video, fill out a form, and usually do a reflection, so I get a little bit of a quick, like 2-minute response, and then also a more in-depth, like in their own words, reflection. So we're going to try and play a video just so you can see one of the ones that the students would watch. This was made with students, and I try to include students as much as possible because they love watching themselves. It's super exciting. So I'm going to switch to a screen share and hopefully we can see it. All right. Hopefully we can see and hear it. So this one's about browsers, search engines, or sources, and we'll just watch about a minute. We won't watch the whole thing.
What is a browser? Browser is like a website, like company, where you like type in stuff and it like searches stuff. Browser is something on the internet where you can type in and it tells you what the answer is, like internet or like something like that. So you can search stuff and it's a company. Program on your computer that allows you to view websites. Search on the internet like Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox, Internet Explorer.
Great. So that's just one example of the way I use videos. I'm going to switch back so I can see y'all. And after they watch the video, on their computer they have a form link, and each one is relatively similar. I'm trying to just get a quick idea as like almost like an exit slip. That do they get that a browser, a search engine, and a source are different? Because I often get citations that say I found it on Google, and so we were trying to start from scratch. That's where this really came from. So then they fill out the form, which is the right hand like white box, and it starts with their name and their room number, and then it has what is a browser, and usually something like write one example, and then there's always a question. There's always a box for them to ask any questions as we're starting the exhibition process. If we could go to the next slide, please. And then it gets more difficult. So they have a reflection piece where they have to write out longer answers, and this is part of their Google Classroom assignment. So the Google Classroom assignment has 3 pieces. It's to watch the video, and then to fill out the form, and then to finish the reflection. So the reflection questions are up in the upper right-hand corner. It was just to find what is a search engine, reflect what search engines have used in the past, just to give me an idea of where we're starting, and then what search engines would you like to learn about. And then it's repeated for browser and for source. It's the exact same 3 questions. And so this gives me an idea if they respond that a browser is Firefox. I understand that they've probably heard what a browser is and understand a little better. If they're saying all of them are Chrome, then we're in trouble. If they're saying sources are Wikipedia, then we know where we need to go next. So you can see some answers on the left hand and the bottom, and it's a little bit hard to see. And I tried to make it so that they could just watch the video and copy as they go along. And so I saw some students taking notes as they go along, and I saw some students who had watched the video 3 times and still weren't quite sure. And so I would just guide them to go back to the video. And we only have 50-minute periods, so at the end of the period we almost always have about half the class that's finished and half the class that's not. So the second week, the kids that are finished, that have finished appropriately, I make them experts. So they usually have a group of 1 or 2 other kids, and I think about which students would be best together and group them in small groups. And then if they have questions, they go to their expert rather than coming to me all the time. I feel like this helps everyone learn a little bit better, and I think the more that they teach each other, one, I get to see what they're actually learning and can readjust as needed. But also, One of the quotes we've probably heard before is, "We always learn best when we're teaching others." So being the expert, they get to teach somebody else, and it becomes even more internalized. Um, so if they're, that's how we usually start, like our research projects, and we'll continue talking about it further a little bit later. But now we're going to go back to Tiffany. Oh, just kidding. We do have one more thing. We will start this probably next week. But we did this last year where they talked about Google versus databases, because we always have kids that only want to use Google and never want to use anything else. So trying to explain to children why the databases are more robust and better for research than just a quick Google search. So I have slides that are already made that are like just comparing. If you went to Google, what would you find? And then if you went to a library database, what would you find? And usually pretty quickly they see, if I go to Google and I put in a word, it will give me millions of answers and not necessarily the answers I want. And then if I go to the library databases, I can see pretty quickly, like, I needed a map, and right away there's one at the top. I wanted information for this particular example. It's soup. So when you look up soup in Google, it just gives you like recipes. It won't really give you like the history of soup, which is what they want to write a paper on. And so going to the library databases, they quickly see what they can find, and that it's easier using the databases, and that it's not as many steps, because in Google you really have to read like 6 or 7 different pages and different items before you narrow down what you actually want. So this is after they read through and kind of practice, then we'll have a debate. So they'll get to argue their side over whether Google or the databases are better. And I'm interested to see what they actually come up with. So this is they would talk about their debate and who would win. We're going to start this in a couple weeks, and we haven't actually, I don't have video or any examples of their debating, but they get very into it, and they really want their side to win, just like anytime we have them argue or debate anything. So it's always really interesting, and it's a great way for them to really see the differences and like give examples in a way that's not just me telling them that this is best, but them actually seeing some different examples and finding ways to use them in a better way.
That's awesome. I absolutely love. Ooh, I'm echoing. Let's see. Well, I'm muted. All right. All right. Oh, that's much better. Yes. So I love what you did with sharing how you convince your students that databases are often a better source of information, especially when they're doing research, than Google. But I know for me, I work with middle school students, and for the most part, as do I, whenever they're looking for information, just randomly right off looking to see what the answer to something is, they go to Google. And so I try and make sure that I spend a good amount of time with my students working on how Google search works. And Google search education has an amazing database of lessons that are out there and available for teachers to use, and they have a variety of levels for those lessons, and this is really one of my go-to resources when I'm starting to introduce research. And you know, with my middle school students, as much as I would love to really dive into research and using databases and things like that, I also know that they need these basic search skills. We often talk about these digital natives and how they're just so in tune with technology, but those of us who work with them on a daily basis know that for many of our students, it's a struggle, and they really don't understand necessarily what they're doing when they go online to conduct a search. And so the Google search education has some great lessons. One of my absolute favorite lessons that I teach to every single student that I see, I teach it in 6th grade early on in the year, and I reference it constantly throughout their time with me at middle school, is the lesson on how search works. And this is one of the slides from the activity. There's a really great video that goes along with this lesson where there's this guy named Matt who works for Google, and he actually explains what happens when you type something in and conduct a search. And I can tell you that my students talk about this and reference this throughout their years with me in middle school. It's something that they really get. But it's something that they never thought about before. And so in this lesson, not only do they get an understanding of how search works, but they also, we talk about choosing keywords and making sure that all of the right words are in our search, and how we order them, and what matters and what doesn't matter when you're picking your search terms and conducting a search. So this is really a base lesson. Clearly, so much of this, as far as search terms and using keywords, can bleed over easily into discussing and working with databases. But for my kids, I know that this is where they go every day. This is what they use every day. And so this is a really important lesson for us. And I like to close it with, how do your parents search? Do they know about these keywords? Do they know how Google search works? And I kind of task them and send them home and say, teach this to your parents. Because like we said before, they really learn through teaching and through sharing. And so that's how I try and hook them in with that activity. So in addition to the search lessons, they have, and these are some of the options, some of the lessons that they have available, tons of options. But Google Search Education also has these Google a Day challenges. And I put together a couple of activities last year where I would put these, yes, I will. I'll share the link to this. And I'm also, just so you know, in addition to the video archive of this going up, all of our slides with the clickable links, videos, anything that we include, I'm going to put up on the wiki as soon as we finish up with tonight's webinar. But these Google a Day questions are absolutely amazing, because you know what the kids do when they go and do a search. They type in the question that they want answered, because they think that talking to Google is the same as talking to a person. But these Google a Day search questions really require them to kind of really work around and think about the steps they need to take to get to their answer. Now, I did find that a lot of these questions, some super brilliant person went and blogged about this and posted all the answers. So if the kids go and search sometimes the word for word question, they will get a link to a blog that has the questions and the answers, which actually defeats the entire purpose of this type of activity. So I started designing my own questions, and I kind of take a backwards design with this. I come up with some totally off the wall crazy answer and work backwards into a question. But it needs to be the type of question that they will have to answer multiple components in order to kind of form those all together like a puzzle and arrive at their answer. The kids absolutely love these. It's hard work. It's confusing. It takes them some time to figure it out. But once they do a couple of these in a group, they kept asking for more and more and more. So this was an activity that they really enjoyed and that got them thinking outside the box, using those keywords when conducting their search, and working on their search skills. Now, another go-to place for me when I'm talking about doing research type lessons, and these are really lessons that I do. I mean, I fit them in with my teachers where they're appropriate and when they're appropriate, but this is more skill teaching in isolation, as opposed to a really embedded project that I'm talking about. And sometimes those are really powerful. Like I said, that Google search lesson that I do, even though it's basically a single lesson in isolation, my kids go back and reference it and talk about it constantly. So Common Sense Media, I love their digital citizenship curriculum, and they also have a good lesson on identifying high quality websites. And so this is another one that I use. And we've all seen, you know, the website of the Pacific Northwest tree octopus, which I absolutely love using this because the kids think, oh, this is a really nice looking website. It must be true. And it actually takes them a couple of minutes to stop and realize that this is the most absurd thing that they've ever seen in their life. And so this is the perfect place, and I'm sure that many of you use this. This is the perfect place to talk about how not everything that you read on the internet is true. But kind of branching off from that, I do talk to them about Wikipedia. And I know that when I'm searching for quick, fast, especially pop culture related information, things that are current, Wikipedia is where I go. And I explain to them that I do use Wikipedia and it's okay for them to use it as well. But there are different instances where you are using different sources of information. And so when you're doing research, clearly we're going to lean in the direction of using a database instead of using Wikipedia. Just like clearly we're not going to cite Google as our source because it is a search engine and not a source, but we're not going to cite Wikipedia as a source either because that is not the place that we want to find and cite our information when we're doing academic research. So those are just some of my tips as far as kind of just digging in and building that foundation for our students on research. So now I'm excited that we are going to share some of our projects that we're doing in our schools.
So, as I was saying earlier, our fifth graders do a large project called the PYP Exhibition Project. And when we do this project, it takes a lot of different steps. It's research, it's taking action, it's writing an essay, it's group work, it's collaboration. There's a whole bunch of different things that go into it. As the librarian, my side, of course, is the research piece and the citations and things like that. So when we start, we look at some of the, like just thinking up a topic. We use a word cloud to kind of think out what our unit was about and how we could use aspects of the unit. So previously it was based on the government unit. So we would take all the words from the unit, from the essential questions to the focus to some of the other things, the central idea that the students are studying for 6 to 8 weeks. We put it together in a word cloud and thought about, like, okay, the top 3 words are government and student and like law. So those might be important things that we want to focus our PYP exhibition project around. And so then they go with their group and decide, also looking at those keywords, thinking of the 3 that we thought were the top ones, and then 3 to 10 total that they want to build their project around. Then they think about real-world aspects of it. So if they're looking at the government, we might be looking at strikes that are going on, which is a really relevant topic here in Chicago. We might be, last year we looked at, it was more about families and relationships. So one of the groups had done a really interesting project about cancer and health technology. So it all came from looking at the keywords and thinking about what was important to them and what kind of things they wanted to go out and do. Then after they've decided their topic and their main ideas, they come up with their own central ideas and their own essential questions, which is something we work on in the PYP curriculum itself. And then we work on the research piece. So there's databases, there's the citing piece. We talk about EasyBib, so there's a place to kind of do it a quicker way. We include the Big Six research process, so that's also here. And this Padlet is sent out to the teachers, the students, and their parents. So everybody has all the same information. We were also really lucky last year to have a parent who was a research professor at a local college. And so she came in and talked to the students about research at a college level and about internet searching and a lot of the things we just talked about with Google and Google versus Wikipedia versus databases and when is the appropriate time. Like when we're starting out, we might look at Wikipedia and we might look at Google, and then we want to move toward more reliable sources or websites that we know are relevant and true, because there just might not be a database source about something a little bit more abstract or very new. So giving the students as many different things to start their research project with and having everything in one place, because we realized that they knew these things were out there, but they would get home and say, I couldn't find the link, or I forgot what you said in class, or I couldn't access it because I didn't have the password and things like that. So putting it all in one place really helped them actually do the research and not just get stuck in how do I get there. If we can go to the next slide. So these are some of our adorable kids working on it. We let them review some of the different pieces. We had a PY exhibition kickoff, so this young lady is reading some of the slides because she had missed it. And then at the end of the project, they write a reflection, because a big part of their end piece is to show what they've learned and show how they can use it in other ways and use it in their future projects. So they talked about that they were really worried, and a lot of kids have a very similar reflection. It is an overwhelming project for a fifth grader, especially since previously they didn't really do any major research projects. So we have learned in the past 3 years since I started that we now do a second grade sort of mini exhibition and a fourth grade mini exhibition, so that they kind of get some practice in between. And of course, in kindergarten, first, and third grade, they do other research projects, but they're not as large and they don't have as many of the pieces as exhibition does. Whereas in second grade, like in the beginning of the year, they did research about things that affected our community and found out that there was a lack of food donations to one of our homeless shelters. And so they decided that they wanted to do the research and find ways to help that homeless shelter. And so they collected food for about a month and then donated the food as their Take Action project. So that was really neat to see that they actually took the research they had put out and then actually took action on it. So as the exhibition goes on, they will start a major binder of all of these pieces. They will also get a mentor in the school so that they come to somebody in the school building that will help them with all the different pieces other than just their teacher. And we're excited to get started and continue our research to find out more about all of our different projects.
All right, so I think that's an awesome project, and I love so much that you are able to build on that from second grade, and then another project in fourth grade, and then another project in fifth grade. For us, this year was our first year to complete the sixth grade Wonder Project, and we just wrapped this project up. It was a several month long massive undertaking. We just had our recap meeting with our social studies and our English teachers who all worked together on this project, and it absolutely blows my mind. If I would have heard about this project 5 years ago when I first moved into the middle school position that I'm in now, I would have said, this is not possible. We can't do this. Somebody's lost their mind. But I'm absolutely amazed and excited to share what we did with our sixth grade Wonder Project. So over the summer, our sixth graders, and when I say our sixth graders, I'm talking about all 320 of them. Yes, we have a lot. We have 5 English language arts teachers and 3 social studies teachers, and lots of students. Over the summer, their required summer reading was the book Wonder, which is fabulous, and if you have not read it, then you should probably leave this webinar and go read it right now. It's amazing. But part of that book is a project that the students do on ancient Egypt. And for us, this was a perfect fit because we wanted to take that novel that they really started the year off with in a cross-curricular project, and we wanted to pull this into a research project. So in sixth grade, our students study world history, and ancient Egypt is one of their major topics. And so the social studies teachers, the English language arts teachers, and I all got together and we planned this massive research project. And so I'm going to kind of run through, and I recently blogged about this and posted up all of the links to the different packets and resources and things that our students used. So you can absolutely feel free to go and check those out and download them. But this was super exciting for me because in this project, the library was really the glue that held everything together. And so the students came and they met with me constantly throughout the project with both their social studies and their English language arts classes. And so we kind of launched the project with back-to-back visits, and the students got their initial packet where they were going to do their research and make their notes with their social studies class. And so their social studies teachers and I worked together to help them select their topics and then begin the process of research. And in their English classes, I introduced them to our ebooks on Mac and VIA. Now, another piece that really helped to guide this project was Schoology, and we use Schoology district-wide as our learning management system. Whatever learning management system you may use, though, it's great to have that piece to have the students be able to interact with each other as a group, and for you and the teachers to be able to go and post massive updates. So I put together a group on Schoology for all of our sixth graders to see where we could share resources, but also where they could share resources, or they could post discussion threads and talk about the fact that they were having trouble finding information on this topic, and kind of help and guide each other through the process. So you can see these are some of the things that were posted on Schoology throughout the project. It was really a lot of fun to watch the kids interact, and I love using Schoology. This is a complete sidebar, but they're really able to kind of start to wrap their brain around appropriate use of social media by using this. And so, they were going and posting their discussions and asking questions, and we were able to kind of have some conversations about how to do those types of things appropriately. But you can see that these are some of the things that our students, our teachers, and students responded to throughout the project. So our students started, they selected their topic, they conducted their research. We used Mac and VIA, and I was able to purchase a number of ebooks that they were able to use as references, as well as online searches, and we talked about vetting our sources. We talked about databases a little bit, and our students, we were able to scaffold this project so that our sixth graders put together their research paper. They actually wrote a research paper with lots of direct quotations that were properly cited, and this was super exciting. They had their works cited page. I feel like for our sixth graders to really put out this quality of work and this massive undertaking of this project was really impressive. I was blown away. I mean, just a couple of years ago, I don't think we as a faculty or our students could have pulled this off, but it's really a testament to our professional learning communities and how well they are able to work together. So they did their research through their social studies classes. They did their writing portion of their papers, taking their direct quotes and putting those into a paper in their ELA classes. And then they put together a visual presentation as well. And so for me, this is something that I'm really passionate about. I love to talk to my kids about the visual aspects of presentations and things like that. So I showed them some of my sample presentations and talked about visuals. We talked about giving credit and citing our photographs and things like that. They put together the visual of their project in their social studies class, and then they actually made a formal presentation to their ELA class. They wrote their script, and then we had our sixth grade wonder project night. So just like they do in the book, where all of the parents are invited to come out and kind of celebrate the success of their students, we did the same thing. And so we had all of our students come in, and you can see this is a picture from our wonder night. We actually had 2 nights because we have so many students, but it was a lot of fun. And of course, being the skillful librarian that I am, I coincided this with our book fair, which made it even more successful. So this was really an exciting project for us. We started this probably mid-October, and we finished it mid-January. So for our students to see a project like this through from beginning to end, excuse me, I think that's a really powerful process. So I'm so proud and so excited of the success that we saw with our sixth grade Wonder Project. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about going deeper, because I do know that we probably have some high school folks out there, and a lot of the things that we've talked about have been more geared towards elementary and building that foundation of research. And first, I'll say this. For me, our funding over the last couple of years in my school has been cut significantly, and we actually had our database funding cut a number of years ago. And so I always stress to my students the resources that they can access through our awesome public library system. But I can also use projects like the one that I just talked about as an advocacy tool for our library. I plan on, excuse me, I plan on going to my administration and saying, look, we did this wonder project. It was amazing. It was really successful. We need more resources to be able to do this better. But working with what we do have, I kind of guide my students to access resources that they do have through our public library, because we are blessed to have a really great public library system. So even though we don't have databases to offer through our school, I can kind of shift them to those resources available through other means. Now, I will share some news with you guys. I've accepted a new job for next year, and so next year I will be moving to a middle and high school, private school. And in my interview process, I was really lucky enough to teach an 11th grade honors thesis project. And so something research related that I can share on that note. I read Buffy Hamilton's blog on using question lenses to guide students in the research process. And so for the students that I worked with on their honors thesis activity, I was able to help them look at their research through some different lenses. And these are the questions, and there's a link to her blog post, which is absolutely amazing. I highly recommend you go and check that out. But she recommended that you have students think about the question that they're asking. And I found this with our students through our Wonder Project as well. You really have to help them refocus throughout the research process. And sometimes they may have their topic, they just may not be asking the right question or approaching it in the right way. And so I definitely recommend that you go check out her blog post and look at these question lenses and think about how you can incorporate with that with your students, and how you can kind of guide them through the inquiry process using these types of research questions. So this is definitely a higher level of research, but something that I'm really looking forward to getting more involved with next year. All right. So I hope that you will all share your experiences with research, any blog posts that you have or great projects that you've done. Please use the TL Chat hashtag and go and share those out on Twitter. And I think that we, despite our difficulties, are going to be wrapping up on time. So do you have anything else you wanted to add?
I'm just glad that we got to get this out there. I hope people learned something new, and if you have questions, I'm at Mrs. Tucker. Send me a direct message, tweet me. I'm happy to share anything and everything that we've tried just to get kids to research better and more often.
Awesome. And thank you so much for sharing your experiences. And same here, if anyone has any questions, I am at librarian_Tiff on Twitter. You can tweet me. I will be getting our archives up that will include the embedded link to our slides so that you can go back and watch videos, click on links, and access all of the resources that we've shared tonight. Thank you, everyone who stuck with us. I so appreciate you. It's been great to see that we've had some viewers here who have stuck with us despite our technical difficulties in the beginning. And I hope that you will all plan to join us in the remaining TL Chat events for the month of February. Next week we'll have TL Chat Live, or live Twitter chat. And then the following week we will have TL News Night. And then stay tuned for updates on our March webinar, which will be coming up next month. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. It's been a great night, and I hope that you have something that you can take back and immediately use with your students to help enhance their research skills. Good night.